Welcome to the WTR Small Cap Spotlight Podcast. I'm your host, Tim Gerdeman, Vice Chair and Co-founder and Chief Marketing Officer of Water Tower Research. In today's podcast episode, I'm being joined by Derron Winfrey, President, Sales and Operations of SurgePays, NASDAQ ticker symbol SURG. This is the second in a series of podcasts we plan to do with Surge Wireless executives. In the first podcast of this series, we previously did a deep dive into the mobile virtual network enabler business. A recording of that podcast is available on the Water Tower Research website, as well as on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, etc. Derron oversees the organization with a focus on scaling the company's core offerings, LinkUp Mobile prepaid wireless service, prepaid top-offs, and financial services, as well as the federal Lifeline programs. In addition, he leads the Clearline marketing and customer engagement platform. Derron has also been tasked with leading the operational build-out of the company's new sales center in El Salvador and driving enhancements to customer onboarding and experience by leveraging data intelligence across the organization. Also joining is my WTR equity research colleague, Kunal Madhukar. Good morning, gentlemen, and thank you for joining.
Good morning.
Derron, I noted that you were recently promoted into your current role and have a long track record in building prepaid wireless businesses. During the company's last earnings call, your CEO referenced that he now has a team of very seasoned executives in the company. It'd be great for our listeners to hear a bit about your background as well as the team you're working with, please.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And thank you for the opportunity and the time. A little bit about myself. Founded a company called ECS Prepaid that was acquired into Surge some years ago in 2019, I believe. Founded that company in 2007. We built that company off of a basis of a software company that we acquired the basis of. It was a very small company, but we acquired this company that we later termed as Softgate as a software gateway. From that software gateway, we added several companies that were similar to our ECS Prepaid, the company that was founded for our own prepaid services. We were able to load about 14 other small prepaid companies that were comprised similar to us in structure. One of those companies actually was founded by Brian Cox, which is our CEO, and that's how I first met Brian. But we were able to successfully grow that company over the years to I think our peak time in 2010, 2011 to doing about 100 million a year. We were two-time Inc. 500 recipients as fastest growing companies in the U.S. that were privately held. So we had a lot of success doing that. So that's where a lot of this background from the industry comes from, is from those two ventures back at that time.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate that overview, Derron. I'm now going to turn the podcast over to Kunal to ask a few questions.
Thank you, Tim. Hey, Derron. In our initiation, we had highlighted how Surge is now a collection of different startups. How does it all come together on aligning with the goal of maximizing shareholder value?
So, in maximizing the shareholder value, really what we're looking for, Kunal, is we had to get away from just a single track of revenue. And that was the main thing that Brian, our CEO, was really envisioning, is we wanted to have multiple layers to our revenue. So we established 4 different verticals, and we talk about these verticals all of the time. We have our MVNO, which is LinkUp. We have Clearline, which is our marketing platform and customer engagement platform. We have our MVNE, process and platform that we have launched. And we've dubbed that internally as Hero, and we'll be talking more about that coming out here in the future in press releases, etc. But there's also our top-up revenue. And that's really what we did, is to really maximize the shareholder value. We wanted to make sure that we had as much strength as possible, because when you stand on 4 legs, it's just like a bar stool or anything else. If you have 4 legs, you're going to have absolute durability, and you're going to be able to weather the storms. That way, whatever one of these verticals is taking off, whichever one of these verticals is the most stable and launching and seeing the best heights, the other 3 can help co-support that vertical as it maybe needs more money for a lift that can go to a different level that we didn't even expect. And that happens from time to time. You will have certain things hit a niche in the market. But to really maximize our shareholder value, we really wanted to diversify ourselves and launch these 4 verticals and really see the lift of the overall Surge platform as the focus.
Great. Thank you for that. You, of course, have, as we just talked, multiple businesses. For this podcast, let's focus on the prepaid business, which is the LinkUp Mobile. And wireless telephony is pretty well penetrated with almost like 400 million subscribers in the country. Where does LinkUp fit into this space?
You know, that's a great question, and I always love it when people ask us kind of where do you fit as LinkUp, because there are hundreds of MVNOs in the space. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges that a lot of companies find. The thing that's unique about SurgePays and how we've positioned LinkUp, our MVNO, is that we have really made a lot of penetration into the mom and pops, the single store owner convenience stores. And that has really been our niche from the beginning. Getting into and penetrating the small urban and suburban markets as we get into the small towns, that is an area that a lot of our competitors are just not going to be able to penetrate. And when you're talking, and you're looking at positioning yourself, you think, who is our target audience, right? And who is the underserved market that is in that target audience? And we've done that successfully for so many years here at Surge. And with LinkUp Mobile, we use this product to get right into that target audience, right into the convenience store space. And that's a way that we can really push ourselves into those bodegas, those small markets, the tiendas, the convenience stores, as I mentioned. And it really positions us to get right into the hands of the audience that we want to reach the most. And that's going to give us a differentiation of some of our competitors. And that's how we've been successful doing that so far.
Fabulous. So, with the AT&T partnership that you've kind of talked about a lot in the past, how has that partnership changed how you operate your business?
You know, partnering with a company as large and as powerful and as knowledgeable with such a great history as AT&T, there's so many strategic advantages to that. You have access to a knowledge base that is outside of some of the acumen that we've possessed, prior to doing this level of business with LinkUp. But the biggest thing that it's done is it's positioned us appropriately in the market with our pricing. We have a 3-year contract with AT&T, so this is not a one and done situation. This is something that we are very much committed to. Our relationship with AT&T has enabled us to do things from a pricing basis that are going to allow us to not just power us, but to also power other agencies that need access to this level of pricing. And that's really probably the best thing that it's done for us. So it's not just some of the insight into the industry that we've gathered from this relationship, which is valuable, but really the pricing and driving home that on our agreement was really important to how we have a move forward strategy.
That's a great segue to the next question that I have, which is the economics of the prepaid business. So when we think about economics, there is the revenue element and there is a direct cost of that revenue. So can you talk about what the ARPU, average revenue per subscriber, should be, and what are the direct costs of generating that revenue?
Sure. ARPU on your average customer, you're really looking at on LinkUp, particularly because we'll hone in on that. LinkUp, we have a very strong $30 offering. But we do have a lot of clients that really, they love our $10 plan, our $20 plan. We have a 40 and 50 as well, but the 30 seems to be where a lot of people settle. So what that does is it gives us an average aggregately about $35 on the average customer. Because our $30 plan is very competitive in the market space. We have 12 gigs of data on that plan, unlimited talk and text. We have international roaming, Canada, Mexico. We have international talk and text available. So there's a lot of things that you can do on that $30 price point. And really, when we look at these plans, Kunal, how we look at it, when I was talking to Brian, is he said, just make it 2 bills. A lot of people can come up with a 20 and a 10. And a 20 and a 10 when you're out there working, et cetera, especially if people are making $15 an hour, that was a big point for us. We wanted to say, okay, 2 hours of hard work can get you 30 days of really great service on LinkUp Mobile. And that's really something that we wanted to hone in on. That's why we settled on that $30 plan. So that gives us our ARPU around 35 as an average. Cost of acquiring that customer, we're finding is about 3 months of that value. It's just right around that $100 point is where it kind of settles in. That's our cost of acquisition on that customer. So that's where we're seeing that settle in.
Great. So 3 month payback on the cost. So
Mhm.
let's talk about the lifetime value, which is a big thing in a subscription business. So typically, how long does a typical subscriber stay on the platform, and how should we kind of think of the lifetime value of a subscriber?
You know, this is one of my favorite questions that we get asked is what's the lifetime of that subscriber? Traditionally, the market will tell you that it's about 6 months, and that's what we have to believe. We officially launched with AT&T officially in April. So if you think about it and going through the months, it's difficult for me to give you a full basis for that because if I'm on a 6-month average, we haven't quite achieved that, obviously, at the time of this podcast. But we really believe in the stickiness of how we achieve our customers. So we really believe that 6 months is something that we've put in our modeling, but I would tend to think that 7, 8 months, and it's because of the relationships that we have at the store level. When you position yourself in a convenience store, you're positioning yourself inside of a community. And when that's part of your penetration point, your longevity of that customer relationship tends to be longer in everything else that we do here at Surge. And so we tend to believe that this is going to help us expand that relationship with that customer. So we're really hoping to see 7 and 8 months out of a standard customer and hopefully even longer.
Great. Let's talk about the new initiative that was just launched 2 days or 3 days ago, the Trump Mobile service. On the face of it, with a $47 per month price for the service, which includes telemedicine, and a $500 price for a high-end gold phone, that should be attractive to consumers. So does that change your plans in any way, or how are you thinking about this additional competition?
You know, it's fascinating when you see something like this. We've weathered so many things here in this industry and here at Surge. We've weathered the launch of what people like to call at that time the Obama phone, which was going into that whole lifeline aspect. And we're big and we have an important aspect in our company within that. But there's so many things that you are going to always come into competition, whether it's with a Trump Mobile or whether it's with any other MVNO that might enter the space. The biggest competition that we have in this is really an internal one. And that sounds cliche, but it really is to that point because if you're doing what you should be doing as a company appropriately, if you hone in on fantastic customer service, white gloving your customers from the initial point of contact all through their entire life cycle with you, and if you reach them at a point that other people will struggle to get into, because penetrating in those markets where we are is something that you don't do overnight. It's something that we have spent a couple of decades perfecting, and it's something that other companies won't be able to do in a short-term relationship or in a short-term launch strategy. I think you're going to see a lot of companies like the Trump Mobile, which is fantastic, but you're going to see something like that. You're going to see it in a lot more of your big box retail. And if you were to take all the big box retails that you would think of in a traditional aspect, you couldn't come up within maybe an eighth of how many convenience store and mom and pop and single store ownership locations that there are. Maybe it's a 16th. I wouldn't know the exact figures, but there's thousands and thousands and thousands additional mom and pops, bodegas, tiendas, convenience compared to your big box retail, which is traditionally how something like that's going to be positioned. So I don't really think that we're going to find ourselves with the same people. So I'm not too concerned about it at this time.
Got it. Coming back to your position overseeing so many different business lines, how do you decide how to allocate capital and resources to the different businesses that you are responsible for?
I think more than capital and resources, I wonder how I'm going to take care of my personal resources, where I spend my time and my mind, half the time, because it's the advantage of having such an amazing team that we have positioned here at Surge. But really, if you're looking at the capital allocation, there's money is not infinite, right? Money is finite, and we have to be great caretakers of the revenue that we create and any type of funding or anything that we bring into the company. And so what we do is we look at things from a stability standpoint first. And that's the first thing that we attack, is we look things that are going to be stable and long term. We look for month over month money, things that you're going to be your quick revenue generators. So if we can push revenue into a quick revenue generator, right? And then that revenue generator creates the month over month for the long-term play, like a LinkUp, then that's what we do. So we'll focus some funding and some and monetizing into that quick revenue generation aspect, because a lot of those times those are short cycles. So those can bring in revenue very quickly, month over month. Then we take that money and now we've parlayed that additional revenue that we've created internally using the outside revenue, and we've pushed this into the long-term vertical, which is companies like our MVNO LinkUp. And that's how we allocate the resource.
Got it. Back to you, Tim.
Thanks, Kunal. Thanks for joining us today, Derron Winfrey, President, Sales and Operations of SurgePays, NASDAQ ticker symbol SURG. And thanks to my equity research colleague, Kunal Madhukar, for also joining us. And finally, a special thanks to the producer and editor of the podcast, Joe Brunetto of Water Tower Research. Thank you for listening, and don't forget to subscribe, as well as visiting www.watertowerresearch.com to stay up to speed on the company's small cap written research reports, podcasts, fireside chats, and conference schedules. We will see you the next time for another edition of the WTR Small Cap Spotlight podcast.